right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun, back to talk about part 6 of our revisiting of the Man in the High Castle final season, and a overall kind of like way for me to look back on what I really thought about this series as a whole. In some ways, I was really wrong about certain things in my original takes, like now years ago. Um, and I never fully covered the final season, episode to episode, which is what we're doing now, thanks to one of my like loyal subscribers and uh, name. I always get this always trips me up. Why does this always trip me up talking about how somebody just likes the channel enough to say, "Hey, man, will you look at the video and make videos about this?" And I don't know. I'm just overwhelmed because it's like it's really gratifying, like when I talk about like years ago now, like about doing things because you wanted to find community, and you find the community, and I find myself like overwhelmed sometimes by just like how awesome it is to like have people like requesting you to do things. um but like not like, like a the basic, what's the like I don't know, I'm just saying. Like the grinder monkey, like it's a really old thing to say, but basically, like, dance monkey, talk about this monkey, like that's not how this feels. It's what I'm saying. It's awesome that people like to hear my voice sometimes. It's awesome that some of you like to hear my voice sometimes. It's great. I love it. I can't deny it. It's really nice to have somebody go, I really want you to talk about this. And we're getting close to the end. We're on episode 8. We'll be talking about episode 8 and 9 today. Um, a lot of notes already. I've only watched the first episode. I haven't even watched episode 9 yet. So I'll be recording episode 8 here, and then I'll be pausing and then watching and doing episode 9 right after. So right now we're talking about Hitler has only got one ball. Which is what this episode is called. And we'll be breaking it up into segments. Like there's basically just two big segments now. It's like San Francisco stuff and Reich stuff. But I think what I'm going to do is talk about things still like broken up. So within the San Francisco thing, the first thing, and also like and subscribe, um, is Children. This, like this show has got you trained so that you just always were waiting for the other shoe to drop. So when something good actually happens, I'm just sitting there like it's a, like the beginning scene of Inglorious Bastards, where you're just waiting. If you've already seen it, right? But like when you've already seen it, you're waiting, that tension. It's that tension you feel in one of those scenes where you just know, like you feel like something's gonna happen, something terrible. And this show is like that. I think you get PTSD just from, like however you can get it from watching something. This show is like got you trained to just go, nothing good ever happens in the end. Um, but Children's Story it's a nice place to start so we can like be pleasant for part of this. Which is that he gets this letter from the Crown Princess saying, you can leave America because of what you've done for us. You can come and leave Japan and be like leave with us and you be a citizen or whatever. Like, however, the Crown Princess would get it to work out. It's a really great big honor. And even though, and we haven't seen DJ Qualls again, I don't know if he's in any of these episodes or if he ever will, if we'll ever see him again. Or anything about the supposed, like, I guess you could say is a sort of dropped storyline a bit. I mean, the BCR picks up. Was it always the BCR then? But like what Frank was trying to do with, like, get a rebellion going. Um, I guess just kind of gets switched over completely to the BCR, which is again fine. We don't need like a ton of different like groups running around, even though there probably would be in real life. There probably would be like huge groups. Like the fact that they're just like it seems like the BCR is like the main heavy hitter. Um, makes it feel like is that because most of the white folks like disappeared into the neutral zone? Um, I don't know. I guess story wise though, you really don't need all those groups. But like in this his fictional bit of alternate history, if there was more time, I imagine they would have like had like shown like how different groups, like how these people were that they deal with uh, at the police station. They could have identified these people as we're this group, like as the country starts to get taken back uh, as the occupation like literally goes out to sea, the city's being taken over. And I'm kind of drifting off here into like talking about from children, but um, he gets like this right now a happy ending. So like I said, I'm sitting there watching him like get really happy, and he's with Yukiko, and she's so adorable, and she's she comes from nothing, and he's all apologetic about like I'll be untouchable if I go with you, and she's like, I'm just a peasant, man. We pick in the fields. Like over here, she's like a queen. Like he calls her a queen, and it's just this like they're just really cute, and it's so weird to have something like this in this show. So all I'm doing is like they've got that paper in my head, like he's not gonna go nowhere. Someone's gonna fucking steal his papers, right? Like that's how it. They get married. That's really happy, but I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. But so far so good. And I'm trying to see if I wrote anything else down about children because I really didn't have to. Letter of transit, though. I like that term. Um, Sticking with San Francisco, though. Um, and also, let's just talk about. I want to just say how great that this has felt doing. Um, this once a week kind of thing where I watched this and I was turning it on and I was sitting there in that first minute or so going, man, it's nice to be able to like watch something and have it almost be like new, like having a memory reopen for the first time in years and just be like, oh yeah. Like I'm having all these oh yes while I'm like, shit, I gotta write this down. Shit, I gotta pause. Holy crap, what'd they say? So I forgot so much, and it's really really nice to have that. Um, but we should start with like right at like that beginning where we're seeing like the Japanese like occupation. People are signing up for to be evacuated. That you have to make sure you're signed up for evacuation, and that this is like a month later after all of that went initially down, and buildings are getting they're kind of in the final stretch. So it's taken them about a month to leave. And the whole thing with John Smith that is there with his, allies. And I love how he's just sitting there and all he cares about is like, do the Negroes have nuclear weapons? Are they going to have access to the weapon? Like, I have to ask, sorry. Um, No, we're taking them back to Japan with us. Like, but they also like burn everything. Like, there's nothing left. It's like they're allied, sort of. It's like, yeah, we both took over the world, except let's they haven't really talked. I can't remember what they said about Russia or China is clearly a thing. I guess yeah, the Soviet Union probably was just completely taken over, right? I don't remember. But yeah, they're he's all worried about that. And like I said, this is the thing. The BCR's whole plot was like, we're just gonna, we just want this plot of land, and I thought it was more like a reservation. Like you're basically choosing a reservation, and they never once. That's the only thing. Like I'll stand by this now that I've seen it and I'm giving it a chance. Is that why are the writers ignoring the thing that they say here? Like they're showing that the Nazis are basically like, as soon as we're gone, we're just gonna we're gonna take all this, and the BCR be damned. And they never bring that up in the BCR plot line of like, hey man, what about the Reich? Like we trading. As soon as these guys leave, the Reich's gonna take over. And if they said it, somebody, I'll have to like. I'm not looking again. So if somebody points it out, like timeline or give me something like a timestamp in an episode. Great, I'll check it out. But it just feels like that's missing. This whole thing just kind of like just conveniently leaving it out. But Keto and Smith's moment is really great. Like, or at least Keto, what he's, it's a great moment, especially the way it ends. But Keto talking about these two empires that we fight for, they're like, what's he say? They're a little more than sandcastles. Only the tides are forever. And I love that. Like, always the tide is going to hit that sandcastle and knock it down. In and out. Everything comes and goes. And it's not like a threat or anything. He's just saying, like, look, man, we had it. Like, we barely had it. We couldn't control this place and do what we were doing. I mean, granted, Japan is in a worse situation than the Reich. The Reich has nobody to worry about anymore but Japan and little rebellions, because Berlin's not worried about it. Like the American side of holding on to Nazi Reich, that's their problem. Japan has China and the Reich and the BCR. This whole story has been more like, if you want to say which government is like really, they spend really more time with, it's the Japanese side of things. The Reich side of things is really just John Smith, and then like you got guest stars that are like Himmler and Gertzman that show up. Like early in this, like at least in this fourth season, it felt like a lot like that Germany had a bigger presence in previous seasons, for sure. But when they say and that's such a good line though. But when they say like Smith puts his hands out, right? Keto says goodbye. Like I'm not gonna see you again. I will shake your hand. But Smith says good luck. And there's just something like you can read. It could just be goodbye, good luck. But I just feel like, to me, it's like Keto saying goodbye, like goodbye, like I don't ever have to see you again. We kind of both respect each other a little bit, but we're both like Keto and Smith both know that they're fuckers, right? They both know that they're like, we're just evil. We're like, we become evil men. We've done evil things for whatever reasons, but we're bad. We both know it. There's mutual respect though. Still, like, it's people are fucking weird. But it's just, it almost seems like Keto's like, goodbye, peace out. I never want to see you again. And Smith's, you could be taking as good luck. Like, he knows what they got, like what's coming. Like they leave, they still got a war going on. And, it's kind of almost like evolution, survival of the fittest to Smith, right? Like eventually, whatever happens, we're probably gonna come for you anyway. Eventually, Smith's man, but they got Turo, his kid, the Yakuza do, because Turo walks in there looking to pay his debts. Probably, like he doesn't care about nothing anymore. He's like 2 days sober, which probably means he's not going to last. He's got himself probably out of money and he's got to clean himself up knowing, that he's got to make some money somehow. And how do I get drugs? I can kill people. So, but the Yukos, they have no interest in that because they know who his dad is and they like bring us your dad. You're our collateral. You got 2 days. Well, with the city being reclaimed by people and vigilantes everywhere, um, you know that shit's probably going to go down, and it does. Um, but there is another great moment, and again, it's like if you look at it from the perspective of the characters and not like our own emotional connection to like the war, like this is like a powerful scene for these people. Like they've been sitting here. This guy is like the hardest of the hard asses of a boss. He's sitting there like speaking to his men with like about his hardness and about like all he acknowledging all the ways that he pushed them and didn't do this and didn't thank this and didn't acknowledge that and he finally does and tells them all to like make him proud and they make him proud and to go home and they've got and it's just like the guy. It's not like the guy who's trying to ride off into the sunset. He's trying to finally say some of the right things, almost as if he doesn't really plan on going back or making it back. And really, it's pretty kind of prophetic because, I mean, he doesn't get out of there. And as he's like getting told by the Yakuza, whatever, um, he's ambushed by a group of people who are gonna hang him. And it's like, well, look who he is. Time to get rid of this fucking guy. The guy who's like been responsible for gassing untold number of people. Probably and personally killed who knows how many people. Innocent people. And in come the BCR and they're like, don't hang this guy. Who is he? He's keto. So they take him and they don't hang him. I was gonna be mad because it's and here it is. Like I just saying, like how you're mad that they didn't hang somebody, but they take him to the gas chamber himself, the place that he sent all these people to just sit, like Frank's sister and kids. I mean, think about that, man. Like in the was it the first fucking episode? Keto like fucking kills this guy's family. Just boop, sorry, they're dead. They were nothing. They were nobodies. Nothing. They were just people. They were kids and a woman. And just slaughtered. So it's like if I'm supposed to be all like, oh, it's a shame. They're like they were gonna hang him. Like there's this show fucks with you because of that. Like they show you the person and the monster. So it's like you get these like insights into their lives and you still have to remember they're human beings, but also they're it's a complicated fucking show to watch and talk about. Man. But yeah, they leave him in the gas chamber. And let's see. is that the end of that? Well, it's the Yakuza versus the BCR now. And they walk in, and I got to give it up to the like at least the the showmanship of the Yakuza boss here, who was like playing music and stuff like anything goes. And it's like I'm thinking Temple of Doom here and everything, and it's because there was Yakuza in that scene, and he's just sitting there like waiting for him, which makes you go, how many people are like sitting like somewhere ready to kill them? And they don't kill him. They tell him to get lost, and him talking about, it's one thing to be a government, what does he say? It's one thing to overthrow a government. It's another thing to be one. And he's offering his services. There's always need for X, Y, and Z. And I mean, it's a cliche thing, like that nobody, if you cross the Yakuza in anything, it doesn't matter what story you're telling, what medium it is, it's always never fuck with the Yakuza, no matter what. And and it's one of those things where, but I always go, like, but why? And it doesn't matter how many movies or TV shows or examples. I just keep going. Well, if the guy is standing there and he's gonna walk out, and you just, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where you're told you're told not to do something and you do it anyway. Because that's what happens in all those things, right? They always say don't fuck with the Yakuza, and then somebody does, and then the Yakuza fucks back. But they make it sound like they're everywhere. Like, I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're listening right now. But I don't know. It's one of those. It's a moment where they could have, like, if you're gonna let the BCR have one last moment, really, really. I mean, okay, I know how this show ends, so it's whatever. But them just blowing away the Yakuza boss would have just been like sweet. Like, as a group, like, we were really gonna let him walk out of here, were we? And like, no, we weren't. I'm glad everybody else started shooting though. And that's it for the San Fran stuff. And notice we haven't really been that controversial in this video. I think it's because it's all kind of ramped up, and I feel like almost like, is there anything else that that this show can bring out of me? Have I just been worn out? Was I that sick this weekend? But we can finally say that Abe and his wife Caroline, their storyline's just about over, because Caroline's over. She finally kills herself to get out of this whole thing, and in another bigger thing is to make Abe stop helping. She's not saying, like, I mean, I guess in some way she probably knows he'd be dead, but like, they're not living. Just staying alive, knowing the other one's alive, knowing that they could kill one or the other. This whole stalemate thing of like, as long as they need me for this, we're both safe or whatever. It can't go on forever. And she just makes the first move, man. She has one nice evening with her. I mean, it's kind of like the opposite of like Childen, right? Childen and Yukiko, they find each other. They get, they're just beginning. They've been put through the test. They've been having to cover for each other, and they've got a future. And Abe and Caroline's future ran out a while ago. And the fact that she, they bring up the whole thing about the films and whether or not, they're in any of them. She wants to know, like, are we in any of the other films? And he's like, no, just this one. And it's why it makes our like love like super special. And it's like, it's nice. I don't know if he's lying or not. If this is something that he is known by him to either be true or false, but that's again what this kind of show does. Like, but it doesn't really matter at this point. And I mean, it's a big, Caroline killing herself, and him trying to kill himself, and John coming in and him just being like, I'm not going to let you die. Like, which is really just, he wants to die now. But he's been, he's there to check up on the whole thing with Thomas. Like, where's Thomas's move? Like, he's going on leave. Smith plans, to be there when he goes on leave. And I mean, I guess it's got to be to snatch him up and bring him here. Which, good Lord, man, what is he thinking? But Abinson, tries to get the last, dig in, like, you'll have no peace, you're just gonna wander between the worlds, lost. The overall Big Smith story kind of crosses into Juliana's story. And we finally get some really, a nice little bit for Juliana and Wyatt and their group to do. We find out, and like, again, I forget, it's William Forsythe, I believe, who's playing Hoover. Just like his performances are really good when he does these kind of roles, like Hoover, or what was it he was in? Oh, damn it! Oh, in Boardwalk Empire. He's great at these kind of just really big, giant, creepy thugs. Um, Maybe, I don't know, but him playing Hoover, who's just got all these tapes of all these like ex-American soldier turned Nazis, like, on tape, telling all kinds of things about what they really think of the Reich, and oh my God, they're like, we're screwed. And Americanism is a weed, apparently, to Hoover. What? I I need to read a book or something on Hoover and not like watch a movie about it, because what happened to this person? Because I mean, somebody that's just was so deeply closeted, was so like, who, like, how much did he hate himself? Like, I feel like Hoover is that is like how I see like a lot of religious people, except like he is actively like going after everyone. I feel like Hoover's the guy who doesn't believe in anything but pretends he does, and then but like just does all these, just all the things that says that he hates behind the scenes. He's like the ultimate hypocrite, and I feel like that's like so many religious people that just say all these things. Oh, yep, blah, 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 blah. Praise Jesus. And behind the scenes, they're just all just a big messes and horrible, awful secrets and twink or whatever, all the kinks and everything else. And they hate themselves because everybody gets to just do it out in the open because we're free of all that. You're free of that shit. So much of that, man, just feels like just self-hatred, man. Like self-hatred pointed at others. Think about that, man. Think about how much of this shit we're going through in our country is just because a bunch of fucking people just hate themselves so much because they see themselves in the things that they hate, that they got to point everything at us rather than point things inward and go, well, maybe I just am this way and it's okay. Maybe it's okay to not be what you thought you were. Maybe it's okay to be who you are, whoever that is, whatever gender or whatever. Look inward, man. Stop pointing the fingers at everyone else when I do it all the time, man. Most of the time we're angry, man. So often when we're angry, okay, maybe not most of the time, but often when we're just that really stubborn angry, we're just mad at ourselves, man. So stop. Look at who you're really mad at and deal with it. I guess we did go somewhere here at like a half an hour mark. Just talking about J. Edgar fucking Hoover. But it's Smith's already like making his moves in this, right? And I mean, it's a little obby, but because he wants the tapes before Hoover. You can tell that he's gonna, like a coup is coming. By the end of this, it's like it's a damn, like near proven. I mean, unless Gortzman shows up like dead in a closet somewhere. Um, but it's Christmas time. It's Christmas time shopping with the Nazis. Martha attacks the spy, one of Wyatt's spies, thinking he's a pervert. And this is where we get the scene where they're all singing Hitler has only got one ball. And it's a pretty funny song. And it's just them like the night before they could all die on this mission to just to talk to Helen Smith and plant the seeds of doubt in her mind to fuck things up for John. All of this is to ruin everything by this, or at least to kick things off. And so they have their night of drinking and carousing and having a good old time, knowing, getting their cyanide capsules. And they make their move, and I love it. I mean, it's a shame Irwin dies. Like, I don't know. I just felt like, I guess he was probably going to die. If he was probably going to get caught. Somebody has to, usually bite it on these missions. But they make their move, and Juliana just straight up just says, like, Thomas is alive. Your husband's been to see him. He knows where he is. He's lying to you. There's evidence. It's in his office. There are films. You are ready for the truth. And she just goes in, does that, dips, and Helen doesn't say fucking shit. She gets home, plays the role, says security was a great idea, says she's going to bed. He gets on his train, and we find out that Hoover has the Smith's nanny. And this is the exact same time that Gartzman shows up at his office, right, to tell Smith that he's been summoned to Berlin, not invited, summoned. And so they have a drink. They both look at each other like kind of erotically. Like kind of like, hey, I'm going to look deeply into your eyes as we drink this scotch or whatever it is. And then they cut away, and we never see that guy again. We never see Gertzman again. And they're like, let's drink to the Fuhrer. But then you cut to freaking Smith's ally playing one of the tapes that he got before Hoover. He's like, little Henry. Remember when I said the guy who was like Rolf from Sound of Music? Here he is on tape, blabbing away about poor Jenny and everything that she told him. And that Smith knows everything. So it's about to go fucking down. They talk about there's another way. They talk about we could take his buddy is like saying we could take this country. We've got nukes here. We are a superpower. But Smith's going because Smith has a plan. I mean, he's going to go there and come back like leader of the freaking world. Rufus Sewell is one of the best villains out there. This is such a great watch. I'll be back talking about episode 9 in just a second. Nope. Having a little recording. It's a great way to immediately come back. See, for everybody else, it was instantaneous. So this little weird hiccup is funny. Well, no. This is episode 9. Just finished watching it. For Want of a Nail is what it's called. Man, this show is just ramping up. Like everything is just falling into place, falling apart, and let's get into it. Because we're just gonna start from the beginning. Because oh my god, like the BCR reality is quickly setting in for the BCR, who they can only focus. I'm gonna be fair and say they could only be focus on one enemy at a time. The enemy at the time was Japan. They're out just about, and the Reich, they were they didn't have to think time to think about them, but they do now. So they get, but it was nice that they get their little moment to like. She says she wants to be in that moment. Well, they're in that moment, and he's sitting there trying to like go, I don't want to be in here, and we should be turning this into barracks. But that's when the leaflets come and the bombers are coming, and the reality of their situation is they lose one enemy and another enemy is there, and it's kind of true for historically for black people anyway. Every time somebody is trying to fucking put their boot on their throat, so it's just like you fight, but the thing is they survive. It's just that it's just this fucking struggle to get to something that's theirs, and every time they get something that's theirs, immediately somebody's there to take it from them because they couldn't bear to give them anything. Everything has to be just for the one group. Just everything. Anyway, Mr. Smith goes to Berlin. Well, this is where the real Nazis are. I mean, in the stories from the first 3 seasons, I mean, they really did do a good job, I think, of selling the we're from, we're the ones that are actually from here. Like it's like I can say I live in the Chicago land area, but I can't even really say that. You know what I mean? Like it's like if I were to say, yeah, like where are you from, Rob? And I'd say, oh, Chicago. And if they were to come see me, they'd know that I live like an hour outside of Chicago. I can't even say that I'm in the Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just those people that are like, being from where you're from is really important. And this is where like, this episode is this. We're going to throw all this shade at John Smith, the episode. It is just nonstop. You're going to die in this episode. They've got you looking. They got you looking. It's like, but it's like at the same time, you're following John, and he's just nonplussed about everything. We know that he was having the conversation with Kurtzman, and they've done this before, where it's like the coup again, another coup. Like it's just like how many different more people do they kill before you just end up with John Smith top, and this is that episode. So it's the pile on John Smith episode where you're supposed to think, oh my God, they got him. I can't believe he went to Berlin. If you were actually thinking that, then you've never watched, like, I don't know. I don't think you understand. But, I mean, it was clear. I mean, I don't mind that it's clear. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need everything to be this, like, super intense mystery. I mean, for all I knew, like everything that I was, going, okay, this is how it's going to go down. What if they hadn't? What if they just fucking killed him? Like that is, and again, because that's actually more like the show. But see, we've had that and that struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle. So that now when the bad guys are starting to die, it's like, oh my God, wow, it's actually happening. Even though it's bad guys killing other bad guys. Still counts. Sort of. I mean, they talk about like, and Gertzman even says like, "Hey, man, better work on your presentation because knives will be out, and they're gonna be sharpened." So he's like, I know that like what he's saying to him, like on the surface, right? Even though it's Gertzman again, so we should like already know like there's double meaning to it. Like if anybody hears him say that, right, it means he's warning him that they've got you. But as we already know, like it's more like acknowledging like their shit's going about to go down. Now, meanwhile, for Keto, uh, like he's trapped in a cell. The gas chamber is his cell, where he's going to just die. They gave him some food, but I don't think he's really eating. For him, it's over. I mean, he's sitting there. He sees, he's starving himself. I mean, the TV, like in the last episode, I think, uh, it the Japanese programming goes off the air, and you just kind of like look on his face is like, this is it, it's done, we lost, and here I am, and I'm gonna die here. And I mean, it's so weird again because when I'm talking about this character he's evil and deserves everything he's getting, I'm talking about it in this way that's like empathetic and compassionate, because I mean I do have empathy. Like I'm looking at this person like he's a monster. He's going to, like, you know what I mean? Like almost like watching a true story where at the end the guy's gonna die because he deserved it. Like if you're watching like a biography or whatever, like some made for, based on the true story kind of thing, where like Bonnie and Clyde, like Bonnie and Clyde don't just fucking rob people forever and then they just ran off and like disappeared like in the goddamn South America or some shit. No, they were gunned down in a hail of bullets by a bunch of people, and they were like basically fucking kids. What I'm saying is like, I don't even know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he's gonna die. I'm so sorry, everybody. Um, I'm being silly, but he's sitting there and they're singing that song. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, because this is when he really does give over. Is they're singing that song about the emperor living for like 8,000 years, and I was thinking to myself, like, imagine the kind of culture that indoctrinates you enough to sing songs about one guy leading forever. And I know that, like, when I start talking about indoctrination, I start laughing because it's just like talking to people about indoctrination when, like, basically everyone's indoctrinated. It's kind of like picking like your flavor of indoctrination. Like this group of people likes this flavor. Um, but for Keto, it's done, and I'm gonna continue talking about him because the white mob, just to keep it like kind of more straight in my head, so I don't get too off track. Where I end up running down those roads and then forget why I started going down them. The white mob shows up again, and they're just weak in this. Like I said, you know, they 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 didn't need more than one group in this show. This little group shows up with like that basically is represented by like three white dudes that are just like, man, you fucking killed a lot of people. So we deserve to kill them too. Come on, why can't we just do it? And it just, it's a little, I don't know. It kind of just takes me out of it. It makes me feel like it's kind of, I don't know. But they want Keto. They tell him we're gonna put him in Alcatraz, man. All right, get the fuck out of here. And then he does the white guy thing where it's like he pulls out and his hands fucking shaking too, right? His hands shaking because he's sitting there around a bunch of black people, like, oh my God, I'm surrounded. Good Lord. Threatening them like the Reich's coming for you, man. You won't give us Keto with the Reich's coming for you. Like, get the fuck out of here. What is this character even here for? I mean, I get it, but it's just so small and like, I don't know. it's showing again though. Like these are the people that give over, like John did, like so many other people did. They're just like, okay, well, fuck it, we're just gonna end up siding with them anyway, and then you're all gonna get put in concentration camps. Like, what a terrible, like, all right. It's like how I think about, like, sometimes I'm like, well, okay, as a white guy, why the fuck do I give a shit who's president of the United States in the first place? You know, like, as a straight white guy, I don't have to give a fuck about any of this. But I do it because it's the right fucking thing to do. Because I actually know it's the right thing to do. It's because empathy and compassion for your fellow man is good, no matter how many of them deserve to get their ass beat. But these, like, what these guys represent is that side of things that just never can get past. Like, everything is still, everything is just still so screwed up with that way of thinking that, and that this is kind of like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that these people represent the people that will only all and always look out just for themselves. And it just still so much of that. Just, it's so overwhelming today of how many people are just so much out for themselves, so selfishly, that it's just, I don't know. But keto, meanwhile, in another conversation, is hallucinating a better time, a time when his kid could have been anything. He's like, I want to be a baseball player, daddy. And he's, no, you're gonna be a detective. And him, like, even on his face, like, as he's saying it, like, there's this compassion and there's this, like, the truth of it all. And then where he's just like, no, you're gonna be this. And then knowing it, then having said it and that look in his face and knowing, like, you know, I discouraged my kid from doing something that he loved, and now he's a murderer, and it's my fault. And so it's like when he's sitting there, like earlier when he's trying to talk to his men and give them compliments, and how he's finally doing for them, and his man, it is the one he really needs to be talking to is nowhere to be found. And again, about what was all this for? And being locked in this cell, I mean, it is, and him like starving to death, basically hallucinating to himself, is like being in hell. And yeah, now his kid's a murderer, and the regret and the what ifs, the look on his face that he's giving, like, just the way you can just tell when somebody's just working on, like, got so much going on in their head as he's dying of starvation in this room. And that is it for keto. I mean, that's one hell of a way to leave it. It's like going into the final episode, keto is locked in his little gas chamber still. Now, Childen. Yep, here we go. His shop is like, when I said waiting for the other shoe to drop for Childen, I mean, it just starts. It just, like, it starts out all right, but well, not really. It ends sort of at the whatever. Here it is. It's like the mob, like some of the white mob, finally found him, found his store. He's about to leave with his, like, new bride and take whatever he could out. Now, like, Childen has profited. He got out of the gutter by profiting on nostalgia of Americana that he sold to the Japanese. Now, I would call that fucking surviving, to be honest with you. I don't consider selling off things that some rich guy would just have in a safe, locked away in some like it is in real life. Like honestly, I almost prefer it, but like in a morality tale, like this is like his comeuppance. He's done things, ethically and stuff in the story that's questionable. So his shop being found by thugs, the threat of violence, them looking for any Japanese that they can beat up, kill, whatever. The fact that they would want to loot, like the only reason they're not is because maybe he's white, but that's not really true. They pull knives on him when he pulls a bat, and even then, they would have just killed him if she didn't have the gun. Which I like that. I don't think he notices that she ever had the gun. But from then on, it's like, oh no, the other shoe does drop because when they try to finally get out of there, the paperwork is basically thrown away. Like, I guess he should have thought about, like, okay, I got a letter from the princess. Okay, who do I actually talk to activate that? Because when he shows it to just any old guard, he throws it on the ground like it's forgery. He has to start selling his things just to get her across, whom also gives his wedding ring to this guy and his cash. This corrupt motherfucker takes it all, and she leaves. He forces her to leave, and she's like, I love you so much, Robert. That was nice to hear. And she leaves, and he's sitting there on the docks, kind of back to the beginning, not starving to death. He's got his suitcase, but who's going to buy it from him now? Damn, that was deep. Not really. It was just kind of an interesting way to end it accidentally. I did not know that I was going to say that. All right. So, Juliana and her whole thing. She has a dream about the portal going crazy. And if you remember the end, that's what I think is where we're headed. Um, but her whole thing is tied in with Helen. Helen, who again, I forget her name for the millionth time. I've said it. I put her picture up. Uh, she's there looking for evidence now and she finds it. Oh my God, does she find it? She finds the film, and it's just her face acting alone is award worthy. She finds the key behind Himmler. She sees the films of Thomas and alternate her, and that look as she's watching herself and watching Thomas and watching John and all of this, like, oh my God, like home movies of something that never happened. And then after that joy is gone and the realization hits her in the face, that look of just like it's like turning to like terror and horror and fear and like, what is this? What is this? Just it's nuts, but also like I feel like there's also the mother inside of her looking at another mother going like I feel like Helen kind of quickly puts things together, especially after she gets the extra information that comes uh, from uh, what happens next, because she calls Juliana. Now this is Martha, Martha, Martha. She is just there, like hovering like a vulture. And when Helen meets Juliana, and I gotta love Wyatt's disguised as an old man, just a janitor sweeping in the like in the basement, just kind of sweeping the same spot. We have to talk. We could finally talk about this fucking cliche that I hate. I hate this cliche so much. And I'm not saying that it's effective if you're sitting there and you're watching it and you're like, and then you get caught up in the oh my God, oh my God, oh no, it's getting. It's the too much time has gone by. I'm suspicious now cliche. Okay. You go to the doctor's office for an appointment, a female appointment, any kind of doctor appointment, right? First, you're lucky, and this, I don't want it to turn into like stand up, but like, first, you're sitting there for like ever. You're on time, they're late. So, like, you're sitting there for a while, and then you finally get in, and you are, you know, for the kind of thing that she's probably there for, it's going to take a while. All right. And so if you calculate the time that she was gone and the conversation that she was having, because literally she would have gone in there, gone down the stairs, this probably would have taken less than a minute to get to Helen or get to Juliana. Maybe two, maybe three, but even 3 minutes. There's no reason for your character to get suspicious, but they keep cutting back and forth like some great amount of time has gone by. Now, I'm not saying that like once she starts describing to Helen, because just to get back to it, we would have to like um uh that she making her make a choice. They have to explain everything to her. So yes, she breaks down the other world thing, but you can tell by Helen's confusion that it wasn't like the longest, greatest in detail conversation. Okay, it was the bullet points and hard hitting, like I was there to go me other things, but it's still, what are you talking here, 10 minutes? If you're suspicious after like 13 minutes of where somebody is, even in the fucking Reich, okay, it's just that cliche. It just doesn't buy it, because again, they're trying to invoke that like time going by, and it's a ticking clock situation. But there's no way that that would, okay, and I'm just saying that if you do that in your show, I hate it. It's padding. It's bullcrap. It is a bullcrap way to create tension. You only do that when the actual time, the ticking clock, matters. When it would be believable that the ticking clock matters at least. Okay, so anyway, Helen has to make a choice. So they explain things about the other worlds, and we get an action scene. Man, but this is like good because Rachel Nichols does have an action background with like G.I. Joe and Conan and stuff. Um, and so her versus Jason O'Mara is a one of those great, like she's capable, he's capable, and it's a Nazi drag out fight in the Man in the High Castle way, which is everybody's walking away bloody. And even though they end up getting the drop, like finally ending her, she fucking fucks Wyatt up. I mean, his face, I mean, she stabs him. You see the blade go through, I think. Might have been a prop miss, like maybe it might have been some kind of like gaff or something that shouldn't have been seen, but she stabs him up. Juliana like strangles the hell out of her though, and then Wyatt does the reverse. Like this is revenge for that poor guy who dies in Saving Private Ryan with the slow knife death. And I know his name, and I want to say it's like Adam something, but it's not. Is it? Oh my gosh! Hang on, I have. It is. It's Adam fucking Goldberg. I knew it. Played Mellish. Yeah, that's right. So it was like the reverse. Like we finally killed a Nazi just with a slow knife death. He was about to kill one of our characters. So Mellish, you've been revenged. Um, and then yes, Martha's dead. Nobody's looking for her. They throw her in the fucking fire. Um, but it is like how do you, like, you could see they were looking for her, like when they're like they kind of turning their heads, but it's like it is at least somewhat justified of like Helen just storming out. Like who do we disobey? The Reich Marshal's wife or look for Martha? We can figure out where Martha is. Maybe Martha's busy. She's busy burning. Um, and it's, let's see, making sure that I don't skip anything else. It's Eichmann versus Smith. Which Nazi gets to take over America, the pure German Nazi or the American soldier. And here's the thing. I thought like this is what should have happened in my opinion. Is the big death part of this should have happened right there at the table where like two or three other guys just did like Julius Caesar on like all of the other guys. That's what should have happened. Because it just they piled on him too much to even let him out of that fucking chair, let alone that room. But they wanted to have like this great, the Himmler send off and everything, and it's fine and it's entertaining. I'm just saying that it was one choice. It's just it was, and that's the one they went with. And I just think it would have been cooler to have it be more epic, like like to have Himmler realize that there was a bigger, deeper plan. But it is the way though, because I mean, like I said, the truth about John Smith and Hoover coming in and all the surveillance and blah blah blah, and John nonplus and Helen trying to call John and freaking out because Bridget's there crying and there's no reservation and it's oh my god. So when you get to Himmler's scene where he's like, I considered you my son, and it just from there on, it's just John Smith going, well, I never loved you. I found you to be a petty little tyrant. You're a piece of shit. I'm going to watch you do that coughing thing where you're looking for your heart pills cliche, but you can't quite get to your heart pills. And then they start to spill on the floor. And then you're like trying to get them, but the person like steps on your hand. But in this case, it's a oxygen tank where he tries to put the oxygen in his mouth, but he realizes it's not oxygen. He realizes it's gas. But then Smith decides to put him in the gas anyway. And that's how he dies. And Kreutzmann, oh my God, was the other killer. And him and his own cronies killed everybody else off screen. Boo. Okay, I'm only saying that because, I mean, it's Nazis. We want to see them get killed. Doesn't matter if Nazis are killing other Nazis. It still counts, sort of. But they're all setting up. North America for Smith. Gertzman gets Europe and everything else. And John's got autonomy and everybody's happy. I mean, the way he says Sig Heil to the dude, it's almost like they should be just shaking hands and saying, God bless America. I don't know. But that's how it ends. So that's the penultimate episode. Himmler dies. A whole lot of other Nazis die. John Smith gets control of America. He plans on just doing the same like weird shit to the I don't know. We'll find out. I can't quite remember. I don't think he likes black people. I don't know. I can't remember if that's true or not. But I'm actually recording episode 10 like the tomorrow from recording this because I'm canceling Prime until they're bringing something else back. I don't know. I'll be back in probably less than a month because of some other thing. I'll be back with episode 10. Thanks, everybody.